Hey, Rainy Joe here, and welcome back to the channel where today we're going to be listening to a recent release by none other than the band Wednesday with their release Bleeds. This came out a few months ago, I think back in September. Yep, September 19th of this year. I meant to get around to it sooner because I heard a lot of great things, but I don't really know what to expect. I've never listened to Wednesday before. I don't really know what they really go for with their sound, other than the fact that I've heard they are an alt country band. And as somebody, as you could tell from the background, who enjoys a good alt country album and enjoys an album that is a little bit different from the norm of the mainstream country sound, this seems like it would be right up my alley. With 12 tracks, it's only 36 minutes and 50 seconds, meaning that some of these tracks, are not going to be very lengthy, very long here, and we'll just dive right into things. So that is a pretty exciting thing because I like a nice short compact record that maybe packs a lot of punch. Another thing I really like here is the album cover. Don't know what it means, don't know what it represents, but I think it's got a great sense of aura to it. It's very disturbing, it's very creepy, and I hope the sound of the record will kind of mimic this disturbing imagery. Like I said though, 12 tracks long and 37 minutes of a runtime. Starting with Reality TV Argument Bleeds, I think is the closest thing here to a title track. So let's get into it. Let's go. Again, not sure what to expect at all. Never heard them. But we're getting into it. Great rising start here. Noisy in its mix for sure. Oh my god. There we go. Has a real 90s aesthetic to it. Feels very kind of grungy in a way, very kind of alt rock in its sound. Reminds me of maybe like a Weezer, especially like that Pinkerton era. Like the vocals on this one a lot. Again, it has that laid back, nonchalant kind of talking vocal delivery. Very 90s in its sound. Love a great opening track here. Very noisy, abrasive, kind of electrifying 90s grunge aesthetic on that. Love the vocals as well. Very high pitched. I thought it was an all male band, but hearing that vocalist, it's got to be fronted by this young lady here, which for some reason just will not let me read the credits on for this track. So maybe the next track will show me the name, but they sound fantastic. Love that opening track. Really sets the tone for the kind of sound that they're creating here. So let's get into Townies. I think this is the biggest song off the record with Townies because this one is the one that keeps popping up. And again, there's that kind of twang on those guitars. Oh, jeez. Give this a real pause real quick. Seems got distracted here. The lead singer here is Carly Hartzman, who I think does a fantastic job. MJ Letterman as well on this mix. Did not know he was even from this band. I'm more familiar with his solo work. So, again, great to see the band that he stems from. But getting back into it though, Townies, like I said, this one has a very kind of depressing sort of atmosphere within it. Here speaking on somebody who had passed, I'd imagine. I really like her kind of southern drawl on her vocals. Maybe singing about somebody who was steeped in a deep depression. Or maybe betrayed this narrator. Love how noisy this chorus is. It's really just like hits you hard with this wave of sound. From what I gather here, the narrator, the vocalist, is somebody who is maybe revisiting their hometown after leaving it for some time. And they kind of see life in this way of when they come back to town, they kind of play a game of catch up with everything that's going on, but they don't necessarily have that same connection to it as they once did. Maybe it's like a part of their past they want to forget or sub to the side. That was a nice one. Heavy, kind of shoegazy in a way. Beautiful ethereal sound on that. I would say ethereal grungy sound really on that chorus especially. Great vocals that feel very country inspired. Just like the tone of that one too. It feels very depressed and nostalgic in a way at the same time. Maybe there's a sense of melancholy in returning to this hometown. A great track. Let's keep it going. This one here is Wound Up Here by Holding On. Very punchy. I love the production. Has that very vintage, crisp 90s sound. What is the kind of direction of this album lyrically? Because from what I'm gathering, a lot of it is just seeped in the sense of dread and death. This one opening up with "Found him drowned in the creek, face was puffy." What a disturbing and stark image. Again, maybe there is this sense of darkness surrounding this town. It has that small town vibe, you know, like that Midwest small town vibe. Everything feels almost like colorless in this town. Oh, that like wall of sound. All these instruments just so raw and visceral in the mix. Oh my god. 100% there's a huge, strong Weezer influence that I feel just comes through the mix so strongly, which is great. I'm a big fan of that 90s Weezer sound, and this feels like it's kind of inspired and continuing off of what they did without going, you know, that kind of pop route that they embraced. Maybe making a better Weezer record than Weezer has in a long time. Also reminds me of Silver Jews and Pavement as well. I like that high pitch. That high pitch, I think it was a guitar just riding a wave that was so just electrifying. Here's Elderberry Wine. That last one was fantastic. Very quick pacing of this record as well. Everything flies by. What an iconic sound. You feel like you're something to happen when you hear it.
Gets along just fine, 'cause the champagne tastes like elderberry wine.
Love the strings on this one. Like, it sounds very rustic and kind of old in that country twang.
And the pink-boiled eggs stay afloat in the brine, 'cause even the best champagne still tastes like elderberry wine.
Also getting like an Emmylou Harris kind of vibe from the vocals especially.
It's fine, 'cause the champagne tastes like elderberry wine.
There's a great sense of like yearning and melancholy that's just so deep within the lyrics and just the delivery of the vocals as well. Really love the direction and kind of identity of this record. You know, like it's like I said, it feels so kind of torn. Almost like struggling to kind of accept the way things are as you kind of look back in a more nostalgic nature, maybe at past relationships, and everything is kind of drenched in that melancholy, but maybe there is, a reason to move on from it all. Almost like trying to justify your actions. I love the guitars. Both guitars here, so twangy and really deep in those notes. See again that lyric, best champagne still tastes like elderberry wine, kind of tying things back to this old, maybe kind of small town that that nostalgia is seeped in. Here's Fish Pepsi. What a title. Like the bounce of this one. A lot more rambunctious in its sound. These drums have a real gallop to them. Again, a lot of nostalgia and memories intertwine the lyrics. That, oh god, these guitars too. Especially that one that's further on the right. I think it's a rhythm guitar, feels so much more vibrant and country focused. Maybe it's the pedal steel I'm hearing. Sounds incredibly vintage. A cowbell coming in the mix. This one just is such a vibe. Real down south kind of bayou instrumental. Love that one especially. Wow, that might be my favorite so far. I really love just the tempo of it. I love the kind of galloping drums that we got. Love the twangy steel guitar it sounded like. Just everything about that one was perhaps the most traditional in country sound in a way. It felt like we were down by a bayou type situation there. Really enjoying the atmosphere of this record. So otherworldly. It really sucks you into the atmosphere. Here's Candy Breath. That last one was a nice short one too. It just really hits you instantly with that sound. Next couple here are quite short. This one embracing that shoegazy noise sound. Love the reverb on that bass line. Very violent. What a swirling cacophony of instruments that was. It gets such a massive wave, and that's like full blown, I want to say shoegaze at that point. There's a lot of reverb kind of drenching some of those instrumentals as well. Just swirls all around you, becomes so dense. Again, incredibly 90s to the core sort of record. Like that one a lot, but definitely not my favorite. I feel like it's a little bit too overblown for my liking. I'm not the biggest, shoegazy fan per se. So those elements, while I can certainly recognize them and I do appreciate them when they hit, it's not my favorite element of the record, that's for sure. But I did like that one. I think that one will be a grower as time goes on, if I'm being honest with you. Here's the way love goes. Oh, this one's very short. Less than 2 minutes.
Even though I can see right through.
Oh, very soft.
Feel like I'm almost good enough to know you.
Such a stripped back approach. I love this. Just her and the vocals. Simple guitar.
On the night we met, not as entertaining as you might have thought I was then.
A lot of the lyrics throughout this record seem very
And I'm scared to death.
low self-esteem and lacking in confidence.
And I know it can't always be. That's the way love goes.
Wow, what a sweet one. Love how delicate that one was. Beautiful lyrics. Clearly dealing with a sense of self-doubt, self-esteem issues. Feeling like you don't necessarily deserve the love from this person that you hold with such, interest and admiration for. Really loved how gentle and soft and quick that one was, because it really just kind of delivered on all fronts of hitting you with a kind of middle of the track list, gentle sort of interlude of sorts. It's a full-on track in a way, but it is one that is so short that it doesn't necessarily pad out the time and overstay its welcome. Short and sweet is really what it comes down to. Pick Up That Knife is the next one. Really, I feel like this record's gonna continually grow on me. I love the atmosphere we're getting. You don't hear too many alt-country albums as much anymore, but there's been a bit of a comeback, I guess, in recent years.
Walk too close to someone to get out.
Really like the lyricism too from the band here. It's very earnest. It's very direct and simple. Complemented greatly by the soft kind of spoken nature.
Sometimes it feels like it will never end.
Oh, it leaves a lot of room for these much more violent outbursts in the mix.
My brain.
Maybe a sense of suicidal tendencies too within the mix would be fitting, considering how melancholic and depressed a lot of the lyrics are. Did not expect a Death Grips reference in this alt-country LP, but love to see it.
Squeeze
references like that take this very 90s aesthetic and sound and kind of remind you that this is a modern record. It's very interesting because it does feel so retro in a way, but with references like Death Grips, you're suddenly just like thrown back to reality. I just think that's kind of funny when it pops in.
When you pick up that knife, they'll meet you outside. They'll meet you outside.
Someone who talks too much shit may be getting
Thought you get shipped home.
their dues paid.
Nobody cares. They'll meet you outside. They'll meet you outside.
Love this
They'll meet you
growing chant-like ending. Oh man, love the way that rose to such a peak. It would be a great one live to see perform. Just this kind of huge enveloping end. That was a great one. I really like the tempo, direction, rising sort of atmosphere of it all. Let's go into Wasp. Man, love the aggression that we're getting here. Following a Death Grips reference, I feel like right off the bat, Wednesday here is kind of giving us their version of a Death Grips alt country track with just how violent and aggressive everything is. Vocals, the mix, the instrumental. A very punk-infused track, definitely 100%, especially with how short and quick it is. Kind of reminds me of Minor Threat, which I've been listening to a lot lately, especially. Really hear this just quick delivery that is so aggressive. Push to the max, everything in the red. She's a big Drake fan, evidently. At a minute and a half, it certainly wastes no time packing that punch. Love the violent intensity of that track. Man, the range that we're getting on this record still feels very 90s to its core, but a nice kind of wide palette of such. Almost knocked over something to the side here. Love that one. Here's Bitter Every Day. Really enjoying just the dynamic range of the record, like I said, just so spread out. Not a huge fan of this one so far. Doesn't feel like it's giving us anything we haven't already heard on the record. Maybe it's the more low-key delivery of this track. You know, it does have like this kind of swirling, sort of abrasive sound that is pretty signature to the record at this point. But this one does feel like it's not necessarily as, in your face with its influences, and it really also just feels like it is a little bit more kind of lacking in a sense of its own identity here. It feels like it just kind of gets lost in the mix of the record. But maybe it's because it is a little bit more of a withdrawn, low-key track. A lot of the themes of the record still very evident in this track, at least. Especially this final passage. Especially this final line. Again, those lyrics of maybe yearning for the past, that sense of nostalgia kind of making everything modern feel a lot more bitter in retrospect. I do like the mixing, especially on the vocals. You know, like there with the way it was closing out added this very kind of muffled effect that gave it this vintage, small town vibe. But didn't love that track overall. I thought it was one of my least favorite for sure. Here's Carolina Murder Suicide. Really like the softness of this one. Those distant drums. Incredible atmosphere on this one. This one with its much more isolated vocals over this kind of somber ambient-like instrumental, this really reminds me of like an Ethel Cain type track, which I'm a big fan of her work. So hearing it done here with a bit more of a countryer, more kind of alt country 90s sound is very appealing to me. I really like what we're hearing, especially that gentle drum in the background, very muffled in the mix. Beautiful. This really does have like that sense of Midwestern kind of mystery. Love how such a soft drum, yet these guitars are so rough and just rugged, very jagged like mix. Really great complement of sound to one another. Wow, I really like that one. That one was very delicate in nature, very sweet. Well, lyrically, I wouldn't say it was sweet. It had a certain kind of disruptive bluntness, I guess you would describe it as. It's very much dealing with a sense of mystery in this, from what it seems, small town. It does feel like something inspired by like a True Detective episode. But I love the whole aura on that one. It was a great mix of kind of gentle and roughness with those guitars and drums. The arrangements were honestly very carefully put together. Felt very meticulous with that mix. And, following Bitter Day, which I thought was a low-key track that was trying to deliver on that noisy sound, that kind of fell flat for me. That track here, Carolina Murder Suicide, was also very low-key, but I feel like executed the sound in a much more interesting fashion for my liking, at least. Very Ethel Cain coded, which I like. Here's Gary's 2. I'm wondering if that's a reference to a previous LP, perhaps.
Guy rounds the corner in a fisherman's hat, and he hits you in the face with a
Side 2 of this record has been a little bit more withdrawn, I would say, in the mix. Oh.
He took one look at you after he stopped to laugh.
Oh, we're picking it up with this pitter patter.
You got your teeth left from you, so you spit 'em all out. You took up your pride and you took
Bit of a bar fight here.
and you went for that shit, had you out his kneecap.
This has got a real hoedown like mix. As we throw down in the bar. Love how this record is very alt country and doesn't shy away from those country sounds, Really embracing it here in this mix.
said seems fine to me, and that's how you got dentures at age 33.
Great songwriting on this one.
Story as you stood by your truck, I said, Gary, man, you have the worst heart. I always did wonder how your teeth stayed so nice when the only thing you drink is Pepsi.
Ending it quite abruptly with that Pepsi line, which I was going to say, this track had this kind of galloping, fun, kind of country twangy sound that feels much more traditional in its country influences, which ending it with the Pepsi line reminds me of track 5, Fish Pepsi, which had the same sort of kind of galloping, fun, just enthusiasm of, focused on that country twangy sound that I love so very much, that I feel like they don't shy away from. A lot of alt country artists, I feel like, kind of flirt with country a little bit sometimes and don't want to go all in on that aesthetic. They want to keep that rock sound as well, still very apparent. But this record here, they certainly do really appreciate the country genre, especially in its roots, and it feels like they embrace it in tracks like Fish Pepsi or Gary's too, with the very galloping, traditional, almost Nashville country sound that they bring. But as a whole, this record's fantastic. I loved the kind of earnestness of the lyrics. I love how just blunt a lot of it was. There wasn't really a lot of beating around the bush with some sort of deep, intricate metaphors. I really like the storytelling on a lot of these tracks. I like the sense of atmosphere that is kind of drenching this entire LP, and you feel like you are part of this small town that is maybe kind of stuck in place by these memories and faded sort of maybe disasters that struck the town. It feels very like otherworldly in a way. It feels very disturbed. It feels very surreal, but also feels very homey and comfortable and nostalgic. Like a lot of great small town country films might be. Reminds me a lot of like a True Detective type vibe or a Twin Peaks of some sort. Really enjoyed this record. I feel like I'm definitely going to be giving it a lot more spins, especially with how short it is, which I also really appreciated just how quick the delivery is. Nothing here is kind of overstaying its welcome. And while I didn't love Bitter Every Day as well as Candy Breath, I do think they are perhaps going to be growers, especially Candy Breath. I think that one with repeated listenings is going to grow on me a lot more within the mix. Did not love Bitter Every Day, but hey, 12 tracks, one not being necessarily up to par with some of the others here, that's completely fine to deliver on such a solid LP from front to back. Just really enjoyed this one. Not too much to say. Really liked the vocalists. Really liked the roughness of the guitars in the mix. Think the production's fantastic. Yeah, Bleeds, Wednesday. This is a great album, and one I will most definitely be giving a lot of revisits to as I think about the end of the year list. But that does it for today's video. If you liked the video, please hit like and subscribe to follow along and listening to more albums alongside myself. Of course, we're doing some catch up on the channel, so this record was one of many albums I missed out on this year that I wanted to go back to and do a proper reaction and listen to from front to back. And on top of that, we're also doing the Cocteau Twins discography and the King Crimson discography starting very soon, if it hasn't started already with the upload schedule. I can't remember, but either way, King Crimson, Cocteau Twins, new records. That's the current direction right now on the channel. So if those are interesting for you, go ahead and subscribe to follow along for those reactions. And of course, if you want to see those reactions also completely unedited in full and hear the album alongside myself front to back with my thoughts and feelings on the record, go ahead and check out the Patreon down below in the description. For $5 a month, you get every single album reaction I've done this year completely unedited. But as always, my name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching, and I'm signing off.